spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scaryish podcast.
Woo!
I'm Rom Grace, this is Adam Diaz, and today we have a couple topics. I don't even know what your topic is. Oh no, yes I do. And hopefully you folks enjoy them. I am excited about mine.
Good. I'm excited about yours as well. What are you going to be covering, Robin?
So I'm going to be covering a few different, home superstitions, because it's not necessarily just about buying houses. It's about things once you live in it, and, stuff
I know
like that.
we've done broad superstition topics before.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered one or two here or there. I'm really excited to narrow down because as we've looked at houses in our past,
Yep.
You've definitely mentioned these, and I think they're super, super important to anyone out there who might be buying a house or thinking about it. You should probably listen to Fudge Up because these are important. This week, I'm going to be covering the wow signal, which is something I had mentioned on a previous episode that I said I would cover, which I find super interesting and terrifying. But we'll get more into that later because I think to start, Robin's going to be going first. That said, before we jump into our topics, let's just talk a little bit.
Yeah, I just can't wait to have you tell me about World of Warcraft.
I'm not going to... Oh, I get it. Wow signal. There's a lot going on in World of Warcraft right now. Blizzard is in dire straits.
Yeah,
I know...
that was the first thing we talked about when I woke up. I was just like, Blizzard's been doing pretty rough for a while now.
Awful shit for a while, for a long time. So yeah, I actually know a person who is a former employee of Blizzard, and they're like, I want to put on my resume that I worked for Blizzard Classic and not this new Activision Blizzard that seems to be a completely different environment than what they were dealing with decades ago when they still worked there. But that is neither here nor there. If you're interested in that, please check it out on a Nerd Chills Ask podcast. I'm sure they're talking about it right now.
I was like, wait, there's stuff on Nerd Chills.
Right. I did want to give some shout outs. Over the weekend, we attended Animanga out in Ontario, California, which was a fun convention to go to. It's mainly fun because of the people.
It was fun for us, not necessarily for the people that wanted to attend. Because on Saturday, there were people waiting outside for over 3 hours in 100-degree heat just to get in. I was like,
some of them waited in line and did not get in.
It's nuts.
And I just can't imagine that. So shout out to anyone who attended Animanga and had an experience like that. It's just, I can't even begin to imagine what you went through. At us, we were vendors, so we had a booth. And that was definitely a weird experience as well. I will say when the event was finally over, aside from the fact that the fucking lights went out and the air conditioning's turned off 6 to 10 times, it was hard to keep track of. When the event was over and it's like, okay, time to pack up, they had the cherry picker roll out and start taking down the banners immediately, and we're zigzagging through the aisles where people were still walking to cut things down. And it was just I have not seen shit like that previously at a convention.
It was very unprofessional when it came to the organizers and things like that. And
not great.
Not great.
It was wonderful though, because we did get to meet several spooky friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Or re-meet, because we've seen Cat Beatrix before in the past.
Yes. And I wish I would have gotten the name of some of them that did come by, but we're so thankful to anybody that came by and said hi and just spent a little bit of time with us.
Cat Beatrix and Emma came in a group, so we got to meet Emma face to face for the first time, which was very nice. They hung out with us for a little while until the floor closed down, but like Robin said, we had some other folks that came over. I was reading my book, so I was in the back, and if I wasn't helping, I would read my book, and I couldn't hear anything the third day that was being said, so I just look up and see if anyone needed help, and then I heard my name. And I looked up, and Robin was looking at me, and I think the sentence that came out of her mouth was Adam's over there, he doesn't give a fuck. And I'm like, what's happening right now? And I didn't realize that Spooky Friends had come up. They were attending the convention. It wasn't just to see us. And they were purchasing something, and they let Robin know that they really appreciate the podcast. And so
they were very nice.
I felt very bad. Robin made sure to make me feel really bad about the fact that I didn't hear it. So it was really, really fun to meet some of you folks. So in the future, when we have events, we will let you know in advance on the show in case you're interested in going or you're interested in coming out to see us. So it was a fun trip. And of course, as always, shout out to the JJ Obsession. They joined us for a special guest episode, I think about 10 episodes ago. Jen and Jess, you are amazing human beings. They let us again stay in their guest room. And it was just a super, super fun weekend where we got to
always a fun weekend.
Hang out, eat good food, have good company, and it was just a blast. So I just want to say thank you one more time to everyone involved in that. So good stuff. I don't think I have any other shout outs or any fun things to talk about from life or anything like that. We've been doing a little bit more chitter chatter before we got to the topics, but I think we can just dive right in, right? So you can just take it away.
All right. So this week is inspired by one of my ridiculously supportive cousins. Shout out to you, P. You rock. She actually gives us a lot of ideas for episodes. This one is one that really resonated with me because it legitimately has affected our lives recently because we've been doing a bunch of house hunting stuff.
Right.
This topic in particular has definitely been something that I always think about or Adam always brings up or something like that. And I'm going to be covering some superstitions when it comes to like new homeowners or those that just bought a home, things like that. So yeah, let's all talk about things that might be really bad or maybe really good about your new home.
I've really, as like someone who grew up in the Midwest, only heard of a few. And we talked about that one yesterday, which I don't know if is in your script regarding burying the statue to help you sell.
Yeah, it is.
So cool. That's like the only one I'm really familiar with, aside from some of the things I've dabbled on in past superstition episodes. So I'm excited to learn.
All right. So we all know how crazy home buyers market is right now. Like it's impossible to find a house, right, that you actually want. There's a TikTok, I think, where the guy's like, the home buyer's market is awful. Like it could be haunted, or it's just like the worst house. Maybe it doesn't even have a roof, but people are like, yeah, I'll pay fucking $300,000 for that shit. It's nuts.
It's like, I'll pay $20,000 over list price. Let's do this.
It's crazy how difficult buying a home is right now. And it's just about impossible to really find everything that you're looking for when it comes to you and your family in a house that's, already built, already existing. I know, at least for us, that's been the case. Houses are overpriced, they're expensive, and they just don't provide what you need. In the case that you're buying an older home, if you're custom building a home, good on you. You worked hard for that, and you get everything you want.
You probably have to wait a whole lot longer.
Yeah, treat yourself. For the rest of us plebes, though, you just get what's on the market. You don't get to choose. Beggars can't be choosers. For the most part, anyway.
I mean, if I'm paying like $500,000 for a house, you better believe I'm choosing as much as possible, or just being like, I'm not going to buy a house.
Yeah. But sometimes you got to compromise where it's like, okay, maybe it doesn't have everything I need, but this is the only thing that's available. And we were thinking about getting a new house. We're like, but we're giving up a lot to buy a new house. It doesn't have a backyard, or it doesn't do. So it's just.
There's a lot that goes into buying and selling a home, especially when you have to do both at the same time in order to relocate. So, yeah, there's definitely things that you need to consider, when it comes to whether or not your place is haunted or whether or not you're going to get murdered, which Robin's going to tell us all about now.
Yeah. So what makes buying a home even more difficult, on top of wondering if it has enough space for you, or if it's in the right school district, or if it's in a good neighborhood, is the fact that there are superstitions that add a new level of anxiety to house hunting. And I know I've covered a few with Adam, since we have been house hunting for a while, or a few months prior to this. And I had no idea how many that there actually were out there in the world. I've learned so many thanks to this topic, and it just gave me even more house hunting anxiety. So there are a bunch of superstitions from all over the world. As for me, as an Asian kid, I grew up learning about quite a few of these things because anytime we had to go look for a new home, because I've moved way too many times in my lifetime. Okay. So house hunting with my parents was always like a nightmare because there were so many things that you had to check off in order for that house to be the one. And so there are just a few of the ones that I grew up with. So when you're looking for a house, you need to make sure that everything about your house is good luck. It has to lead to good luck. So for us, the front door, it can't meet your back door. Like the doors can't match or line up, align parallel to each other. They have to be away.
Which is bizarre to me because as a kid from the Midwest who always wants to open the windows and the doors to let the airflow get through, the best way to do that is if you have your front door and like your patio door or your back door or whatever lined up so you can open them both. And then you have like a perfect breeze that flows through your house. And then I'm told, like, no, that is unacceptable.
Yeah, so when you have your front door and your back door lined up to match, it's like symbolizing that your money's going to come in through your front door, right? And just go straight right out the back. Like, it's just in and out.
Our back door right now currently doesn't align. It goes around a corner. And I will say, our money comes in the front door, not the back door immediately. So I don't know if there's a different sort of money superstition that we didn't follow when we got this house.
There is a superstition where, like, opening the front door into the staircase, like just having the staircase facing the door right away, is a big no-no as well. It also represents a loss of money if you have it like that. You can't have the house be at a T intersection. So say you're driving down the street in a neighborhood, right? And there's a house at the end of that street that you would drive straight into if you kept going. That house is no good. You should not. It's like bad luck to have your house be that house.
Is it because like people will be able to, I don't know. I can't even suss out.
It has something to do with the fact that people can just drive straight in, but I don't know.
I just like that sounds something convenient to me, but I don't know. It's a lot of road noise if you're right there in an intersection.
I wouldn't want a house right at the.
I get that. Yeah.
And cul-de-sacs. Cul-de-sacs are supposed to be bad too, because it's like a dead end.
Huh.
So, all right. Yeah. And then, that's not all. There's a whole bunch. Okay. And I know a lot of people are probably like, a lot of people that are in our generation that have to buy a house, but has those old school parents are just like so stressed out because there are so many, because that's not all. Those are not all of the ones that I grew up with. So the house should face east because the east is good luck towards the sunrise, right?
What's wrong with the sunset? It's so beautiful at times.
North is especially bad luck.
Because of the wall and the wildlings. It's a Game of Thrones reference. Shout out to 2016 when that was still relevant. Oh my God.
Also, avoid homes with the number 4 in the address.
I've heard that, yeah.
The number 4 actually sounds like the word death in Cantonese, Mandarin, and even Japanese. So it's things like all of this that culminates in bad luck, according to traditions that I grew up with. It's a lot. I remember whenever my parents would look for a house, they would look at the number for the house, right? And they'd be like, let me calculate this. Let me think. Oh, no, yeah, it is good luck. Or no, bad luck number. Wow. It was just like, it was really weird.
I think the only things I've ever considered, and I have not considered a lot, is like the name of your street. I came across an apartment for rent when I first moved to Vegas, and it was on Shady Charmer Avenue. And I was like, Shady Charmer? What the fuck? Like, Rapist Way was taken? It was so fucking weird. I'm like, I don't want to live here. But yeah, like, that's the only thing that's ever run through my mind before.
What the fuck? Oh my God. So other than the ones that I grew up with, the world out there has a bunch of different ones and different reasons why they are believed to be true or real, you know, that people are like, nah, we can't do this. It's bad.
Okay.
All right. So some ancient ones that I'd never heard before involve a bunch of numbers, I guess. So you have to look for the number 8 somewhere in the listing price. I'd never heard of that before. The staircase should have an even amount of steps. I don't know who's walking around a house, like a house model or a house that you're going to buy, and you're going to be like, nah, I counted every single step. It's not for good
17 steps. Fuck this super amazing house. Does the landing count as a step? Or does it count as a landing? Okay, I don't know the rules. I just thought that actually might be something considered.
I have no idea. I don't count steps. In the Philippines, the date of the property transfer is also important, which I'm like, who's gonna take the time to be like, okay, hold on. You gotta wait. We can't transfer this property until, 5 days from now or whatever. Apparently, the date needs to include a number that, when written, has to have the last, pen stroke going upwards and not down when written.
Can't you just do that anyways? Like if you're, no matter what number or letter you're writing, just give it a tail and make it go up.
I don't think that works that way. I think it just makes it like, is it a good luck number or not? So numbers like 0, 3, 5, and 8 are, when you do the little 8
Yeah,
thing.
I got you.
Even if you do the little, how do you draw your 8s? I do like in a little infinity symbol.
I do S, and then, because 8s, I was taught, are supposed to have like a straight line through them. So you do an S, and then you connect the open points as like a 45-degree slant up. I was always taught you don't do snowman 8s. You don't do a circle and then another circle under it. That snowman 8s are for babies. So if you're out there drawing snowman 8s, you're a baby.
No, I think you can draw an 8 however you want to. But if you draw them either way, it loops up. So it doesn't matter. All right.
Guess it depends on where you start your circle. Where do you start your circles if you're drawing a 0? From the top?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if I start from the side. That would work still. As long as you're not drawing it from the bottom. As long as you're not starting at 6 o'clock on your circle.
Yeah. I draw from the top. So that it matches the rest of the letters.
A lot of shit we have to ask if we're going to check into these things now.
If you're buying an older home, I would probably start off with asking about those pesky little murders or deaths within the home. This probably should be your step 1. There's pictures that have been posted in our Spooky Friends group of like realtor signs that say not haunted or something like that.
It's like, someone was stabbed here? Was it 8 times, though? Because 8's a lucky number.
In states like Hawaii, sellers are required to disclose any paranormal or ghost activity. They do not, however, need to disclose any death, murder, or crimes that were committed.
That's messed up.
So, they could tell you, like, nah, there's no ghost, or yeah, there's a ghost. But you don't know if it's a murder ghost or if it's, you know what I mean? Like
a happy ghost.
So, definitely research before you buy a house, right? All these ones that I'm going to cover are both for when you're searching for a home or how to live in one once you've got it. I guess it's another one of our superstition episodes, just a more specific superstition episode. So, if you're building a new home, there are those that say to never build a home on top of a plot of land on which a home once stood. So if there was a house that used to be there, don't build exactly on that area because it could mean an early death for the family.
Huh. That seems pretty intense.
And so it's thought that it's best to just walk like a few hundred or 1,000 steps away from that plot, like that area that the house was on, and then build there. So that you're not exactly in that area. Apparently, when thinking about the feng shui of the land, a yard should slope up. And last night I was like, what does it mean to have a yard slope up?
I am very respectful of all cultures, but if my yard is sloping in a way that's going to cause flooding in my home, fuck that.
Yeah, because if it slopes up, that would cause flooding down at your house level.
Your yard is supposed to slope to the outer. It's like a road. You want it to drain to the
slope
sides.
Down.
Yeah.
I was so confused. I was like, why would I want my yard to look like that?
Your basement's flooding and all your possessions are gone. It's like, it's good luck.
But apparently it's supposed to signify the land value going up. I'm sorry, but if my yard slopes up like that, no one's going to want to buy it.
Yeah, the property value is definitely not going up if you have flooding issues.
A rectangular plot of land is also good luck. I feel like a lot of plots of land out here in Vegas, a lot of people's houses are on rectangular pieces. I don't think there are many square pieces unless it's like commercial,
Well, a rectangle is still a square. Like a square is a different form of rectangle. It's just a unilateral rectangle. I think
you're messing with words here.
No, I think that what this is referring to is like if you have like borders on your property that are like not straight lines. That are like curved or they follow like some sort of like odd thing. That's what I'm thinking because like in the Midwest, if you're on a plane, you're flying over the Midwest and you can see all the plots and all the farms, like you can see like all the property lines. Those are all rectangles, So I don't think a square would be bad luck because a square is a rectangle. I think it's like anything with wavy lines in your property line, or if you had something really weird where your property lines was like a perfect circle.
Love
like
that band.
Would be.
Gotcha.
I hate you so much. I think that's where it's referring to.
Okay. All right. Okay. The thing about that is the ones that are on the corner spots that are like, you have a 90-degree corner, and then the lines on either side of your property angle in to make the other houses all down that lane, like rectangular.
So it's like a rhombus or a trapezoid instead of a rectangle?
So where I work, you look at parcels, right? Land parcels. And it's going to curve, the parcel is going to curve against the road that's turning, the road that's turning a corner. The end of your parcel is going to curve.
So bad luck.
And then the lines are going to jut out from that curve and then go into a 90-degree corner. Those plots have the most land. So it's like, I'm going to have a smaller piece of land, but good luck. But if
some of these don't align with common sense, I will say that. So maybe that's like the sacrifice you're making. Like, are you willing to
sacrifice?
I hate you. Are you willing to like sacrifice some like creature comforts or, things that'll put a little bit of extra money in your pocket to align with superstition so that you have, I don't know, fortune and good health?
To each their own, right? All right. So one that my cousin told me about yesterday was having a backyard that is bigger than your front yard. And I did not know about that. Some people like to have a big front yard, right? They want to put all their garden stuff, make it real nice for the neighbors.
So people can see.
Yeah. But apparently, if you have a bigger front yard, it's like you're showing off, but not having a lot of substance. It's like big show, little substance. If you have big front yard, little backyard, you don't have a lot for yourself. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah, I find that interesting. But I want a big yard anyway. Big backyard. I want a big backyard.
I agree. I'd rather have it in like the privacy of my backyard, but I'm a private person, so some other people might be like, I like to do all my stuff on my front yard. I've never really done a lot of activities on the front yard except maybe like play when I was a kid for like birthdays or holidays or something like that.
When we lived in Hawaii, we had a giant front yard. We did have a backyard, but it was like, the backyard was maybe like 4 by 30 or no, maybe 6 by 30. 6 by 30.
That's tiny.
It was a tiny. No, it was way more because, okay, it was much longer than 30. I don't know how long it was.
So it's only 7 feet wide?
Yeah, it wasn't
like
very
just
wide.
A little bit wider than my arms right here.
Maybe it was bigger than that. I don't know. When you go there one day, you'll see. It's pretty, it's rectangular. It's a long ass thin rectangle.
Okay.
But our front yard was like, you could turn that into, just another house sitting on the front yard. That's how big we had, like a deck and patio that my parents built and stuff. It was just a huge front yard.
It's all style, no substance.
Apparently. But water is very lucky. So
flood your basement.
If you have views of water,
okay.
It's considered to be extremely lucky. And my parents' house is right across from the beach. What bigger water is there? You know what I mean? So it's like the small backyard, big front yard, but giant view of water everywhere.
And that's the Pacific Ocean you're looking at.
That is
right?
the Pacific Ocean.
That's the big boy.
Is that the big boy?
Yeah, it's much bigger than the Atlantic. I don't know what it compares to the other ones.
Know. What other? Oh man, no. This
is how big the Pacific Ocean is for retrospect. If you go to the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where you'd be the furthest from land on any side, the closest human to you is on the International Space Station. That's how wide the Pacific Ocean is. No joke. It's fucking huge.
Get out.
It's 100% true.
No way.
Yes, it is.
Shut up.
Yeah. That is 100% true.
Get out.
That is how distance works.
I don't believe you.
It's true. There's you can fucking Google it after this. It's true. It's like if the International Space Station's on the other side of the planet, it's not true. But if the International Space Station is above that spot in the ocean, they'd be closer to you than any human being on the coastlines.
Okay.
Because the Pacific Ocean is fucking huge.
What?
That's why.
Wow.
Are you really Googling this
No, I'm not Googling it. I have to unlock my iPad to read my story, you bitch.
I can just see Robin Googling like, is Adam right? And not even checking what the thing was that I said.
No, oh my God. Earlier, he was being so annoying. And I was just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And then eventually it was just like, fuck you.
Like Tremors 1.
Yeah.
It was funny.
If you guys have never seen Tremors, it's such a good movie. But Kevin Bacon, that's the perfect read of that line. Possible. It's so funny. Anyway, all right. So, more on, the look of your front yard is a straight path into your front door is an easy entry for evil. So it's just like, hey, come on in. A curved path is good because it lots of turns, doesn't necessarily, hey, come on in.
So evil just get lazy, this isn't convenient. I'll go find a different house.
Like our front yard jukes, right? So it's perfect. While I was doing this, I was like, a lot of things about our house are good.
That's good.
Because our house does not face north, which is good. Our front yard is smaller than our backyard.
It faces west, though. Our house is supposed to face east.
Yeah, but north is the worst.
Gotcha.
And it's a lot of stuff about our house. I was like, oh, it's good. We're fine. We're not necessarily 100% bad or anything like that. Our front door doesn't meet the back door, so it's good. And if a lamppost is positioned directly in front of your house, that can also mean misfortune. A tree can also be bad luck if it's planted in front of your house too. I think the tree thing is worse than a lamppost.
Really? Yeah. I think lamp would be annoying because you'd have all that light, but if a storm showed up,
lamp.
If a storm showed up and fell over, I definitely would I wouldn't want the tree in that case.
Yeah. We have a bunch of trees in our front yard, but they're
not tall.
They're not tall, and they're not directly in front of the door, I don't think. Anyway, one of the ones that I saw a few times about when you're moving into a new home was to never bring an old broom into your new home. So if you bring your old broom into your new home, you'll bring all of your old bad luck with you. So because you've swept away a bunch of stuff, you've swept away a bunch of old things at your old house, you want to leave those old things behind. So you just go out and buy a new broom.
I really like my broom.
Out with the old, in with the new, right? There's a Jewish tradition that says you should carry bread and salt with you when you're entering a house for the first time.
I've heard that.
And the bread represents the hope that the owner will never experience hunger while living there. And the salt is to represent a life full of flavor, which I think is adorable. Then there's the whole sprinkle salt on the threshold to keep evil spirits out type of thing. Also, go onto our website, buy a bottle of janky salt glue.
So janky salt glue is an idea that I've had because it's you watch Supernatural, you watch anything else where they make a circle of salt. If the evil thing is just smart enough and has the power to summon wind and just breaks your circle, you're boned. Yeah. So you need some very high
La Llorona.
You need some very high salty glue so you can make yourself a circle or a line, and the salt line is not broken. And once it sets, the wind is just going to help it set.
To dry it.
Boom. All of a sudden, janky salt glue saved your life from a demon and or other paranormal entity. You're welcome. We'll have that on the shop shortly.
In India, some believe that if you're moving into a new house, you boil a pot of milk and rice until it boils over. This is supposed to represent purity and a fresh start, which is odd to me because that's a fucking horrible mess to clean up.
And it's going to smell god-awful when it hits that.
You could do that, or you can bring a whole milk cow into the house and wrap a garland around its neck.
I'll boil the milk and rice.
You don't want to bring in a milk cow?
I don't have a milk cow to bring.
You don't have a friend with a milk cow?
I mean, they're going to walk it all the way from the Midwest? No, I don't.
I think that'd be so cute. I love cows. I think they're adorable.
You've never met a cow in person, have you?
No, I've never met a cow.
They are pretty freaking cute. I'm just pointing out that I don't think you've met one.
I want to, I just imagine it's like a horse, but it's a cow. I've petted a lot of horse.
I'll let you imagine that then.
Right? Because when you pet a horse, it's got a big giant face, and you're just petting this horse.
And you say, why the long face? And they bite you because it's not a funny joke.
Fuck you. Also, in India, you don't move on a Friday or Saturday. That's bad luck to move on a Friday or Saturday.
Bad luck to move on a day where you have the time to move?
Or if it's raining. So it's thought that Thursday is actually the luckiest day to move. No one has time for that shit.
I was going to say, I got to call off on Thursday now so that I can move. This is bananas.
Bananas. I'm sure this one's a no-brainer. Smudging and blessing a house before moving in. Or soon after, it drives all the evil spirits away and creates a fresh start as a new homeowner. I think that's a good idea. I don't think we did that. But it's fine. This is fine. All right. So now for home decor about your house, right? What do you want to put up in your house? What's going to make it all nice and pretty? It's going to be cute. It's going to be cute. buy all this stuff from IKEA.
The thing on the wall that says, live, laugh, love.
No. That's evil.
I literally have a painting of Vigo the Carpathian looking over me at all times in this office, so I clearly don't believe in that.
I'm trying to think of, like, what thing people usually put up in their house, like, straight away. That's just the typical decoration.
I just told you what it was.
The live, laugh, love sign? No. Ugh.
They're everywhere.
I'm sure many of you have heard of the idea that horseshoes are lucky objects. Apparently, the lucky horseshoe stems in part from Irish folklore. I know a lot of cowboys and stuff use it in their decor, but it does stem from Irish folklore. There's a story about someone named Dunstan and a horseshoe. So the story of Dunstan and the horseshoe. This story supposedly dates back to the 10th century. There was a blacksmith named Dunstan who was visited by the devil. And the devil asks him to make a horseshoe for his cloven hooves, right? His feet. Cute. The devil's like, I need some fashion accessories. Put it on me.
I'm here for some shoes.
So Dunstan nails a red-hot horseshoe to one of the devil's hooves, which is not cute. And the devil screams out in pain and begs for it to be removed.
The devil's begging now. Okay.
So Dunstan agrees under the condition that the devil respect the horseshoe and never enters any place which it has one of these horseshoes hung above the door. So according to the interwebs, the blacksmith, this Dunstan person, would eventually be deemed a saint. But apparently he made a deal with the devil, like, I will take this horseshoe off of you if you're like, fuck horseshoes, I'm staying away from horseshoes. So
sounds like a story made up by a horseshoe salesman in the 10th century.
So this next one is a bit new to me. Scatter coins into your living room. So scatter coins into your new living room. Apparently this is supposed to lead to good luck and prosperity in the future. Some throw like an area rug over all the coins afterwards and just leave it there.
That's weird.
That is weird. Imagine walking on those and just hearing clink, clink, clink.
Right.
Well, I guess you wouldn't hear it if you have a carpet floor. But we have a wood floor, so
this mixes really with another one of my superstitions. I don't pick up a coin if it's face down. So what if I throw just a handful of like 30, 40 coins and they all land face down? Should I just leave? Should I move to a new home then?
Sounds like a bad sign. All right. So if you don't like little things cluttering up your home, you like coins. You may not. This may not be for you, but in ancient Norse mythology, there's a way to defend your home from Thor himself.
Nice. So
you place an acorn on a windowsill to protect the house from being struck by lightning.
Ah, yes. We all know this. That's old chestnut.
Yeah. Who has an acorn just sitting around, though?
My mom used to have an acorn because...
and she whistles with it.
Yes.
Yeah. I have never seen a real-life acorn in the wild, I don't think. Have I? Maybe.
It's like you're asking the audience to examine your memories for you.
Yes, get into my memories. All right, so if you're trying to sell a house that you're struggling with, it's said that if you bury a statue of St. Joseph upside down, you'll sell your home in record time.
My mom did this to sell her
A lot of
home.
real estate agents are like, just do it. Just do it if you want to sell it real fast. Apparently, this St. Joseph person was a carpenter during his lifetime. And that may be something to do with it.
Isn't St. Joseph Jesus' dad?
I don't know.
It's like the one that taught Jesus all the carpentry.
Is it?
Pretty sure.
Oh, all right. So I know when my mom was having a hard time selling a house once, she didn't bury a St. Joseph statue. What she did was like, because we're Asian, she did a talisman. So she got a talisman. I think she went to the temple, got a talisman. They told her to bury it. So she did. And then once you sell the house, you dig it back up and burn it. I bet there's a lot of different cultures that have that type of thing where it's like, just bury this, when it sells, just dig it back up again or something, you know? Probably wouldn't hurt to smudge your house on the way out too. And I say that because some people are really sensitive to otherworldly creepy things or feelings, and a bit of saging might help give the house some good vibes, like new, fresh vibes. So people coming to see your house
are vibing.
Yeah, they're vibing with your home. And it might get people to want to buy more. Who knows? I'll finish up my topic with some bedroom layout tips, okay? you shouldn't have the foot of your bed facing directly at the bedroom door. This is supposed to be symbolic of death, even going so far as to invite death to visit by doing that, putting where your bed just faces your bedroom door.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's like inviting the devil to visit you in your sleep kind of thing. So you're welcome for that.
But when you're running up the stairs from the demons, when you've turned the light off, it's easier if the door lines up directly with your bed for you to just leap through it and land in there.
Yeah, so if your bed is facing that direction right now. So I hope for all of you out there looking for homes or just moving into them that this doesn't stress you out too much. There's a lot to think about when it comes to looking for houses. Let's just hope the housing market gets better. New things pop up on the market that just...
And it's a seller's market right now. So if you're selling, you're like, heck yeah. But I think what it really comes down to, there's so many different superstitions. Is like, do you feel comfortable in this place? Is this place going to work for you? Is it functional? Because I'm sure there's some superstition where someone's like, yeah, you need to have your kitchen on the 3rd floor. But when I check those houses out, I'm like, this is the stupidest fucking layout I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm not carrying groceries up 3 flights of stairs.
Yeah, do not design a house with a kitchen on the 3rd floor.
It's just foolish. I don't know why anyone would ever buy that. But
yeah,
I think it's really fun to go through and read through a lot of these, and in this case, be told by Robin what some of these are. And maybe these cross your mind when you're looking for a new place. But yeah, this is super fun. Good work, Robin. That's a lot of research.
Thanks.
So cool. Before we move into my topic, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And we are back. So this week, I decided I was going to live up to the promise I made a couple of Storytime episodes ago and cover something that Robin had not heard of and that I have, but I find intriguing. And by intriguing, I mean intriguing and slightly terrifying. But since the scope of what I originally proposed for this episode was a little bit narrow, a lot of times we kind of go outside of our topic to kind of give you additional context. Or if you have questions when you're listening to an episode, most likely we had those questions when we were researching it. So I'm not just going to focus on the single thing. I'm going to focus on a little bit more. It's kind of broad, but it's not a completely general topic. So without further ado, dear listener, I present to you the WOW signal. WOW exclamation point. So the main inspiration behind this topic came from the Storytime episode that was 2 weeks ago, like I mentioned. We were talking about sending messages into space for some sort of reason. I can't remember the context. Escapes me at this time. And I made mention of the fact that not only do we do that, we've received something at one point from space. And Robin was equal parts disbelieving and terrified. So I figured let's just go over it for a topic episode. And in order to do that, I want to go through things chronologically for the most part. So the first interstellar radio message that was sent to the stars by human beings is called the Arecibo Message. I've heard it pronounced a bunch of different ways. This is the one I'm choosing to go with. This is the one I am most familiar with. But it turns out there's a lot more of them, and I will get to them eventually. This is the one I want to focus on primarily, though, that we are sending, or we have sent. So the Arecibo Message was sent out on November 16th, 1974. So this message predates me by about 11 years. So you know it's old.
I thought you were totally going to be like, y'all remember 1974, right?
Nah. I'm not going to do that. This particular episode. Plus, I think when I Google like what happened in and then the next year, if the link is purple, I'm like, I've already done this. And I've covered a lot of them. You may be wondering who chose what was in the message. Because if we're saying, hey, let's send a message to outer space to possible extraterrestrial civilizations, what do we want to say? So the primary person who was in charge of what this message would say was a man named Frank Drake, who I believe was a professor for either Cornell or a different university. I might be mixing up my universities for Frank, but he also had help from other individuals who were interested in contacting extraterrestrial civilizations, thought it was possible, and one of those individuals included Carl Sagan. So he is very notable for being someone who's just all about outer space. What's kind of funny to me about this message is that it was meant to more or less demonstrate our technological achievements and advancements to this point, our capability, so to speak, not so much to be an actual form of communication. It's almost like we sent a message that was interstellar bragging, like, look what we can do.
Well, that's just asking for trouble.
A little bit, but I think it was more to say, like, here's what we have learned, just in case someone else out there wanted to, like, measure how far along we were. So the message, it was encoded in binary. And the information that was sent was as follows. So the first thing that was sent was the numbers, 1 to 10. And they basically have this sheet that shows you what the infographic, if it was deciphered, looks like, which I'll post on our Instagram and our Facebook. So the first, row is the numbers 1 to 10 in binary. The second one is the atomic numbers of the elements hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus, which make up what's in DNA. So that's interesting to say, like, we've discovered DNA, we've also discovered these elements. The next thing is formulas for the chemical compounds that make up nucleotides of DNA. So we're really showing, like, we understand the building blocks of creation. We're showing you all the shit regarding DNA. The next thing that we sent out was the estimated number of DNA nucleotides in the human genome. So it's like, this is what we're made of in respect to DNA.
This sounds dangerous.
A little bit, right? And a graphic of the double helix structure of DNA.
It's just making the aliens curious about our bodies.
It's like, this. We've discovered how to create us, just in case you were wondering. Just in case you wanted to infiltrate us by making, like, a bunch of, like, bodies, here's how you can do it.
I wasn't thinking like that, but it's more like they've heard this message, right? They received it, and now they're just like, we got to probe them. We got to see what's going on. And they're just sending people down to take us up and research and see what we're really made of. And
maybe they're going to check our facts to see if we're correct.
It's creepy.
It goes on, though. The physical height of an average man, a picture or a graphic that's made up by dots. So it looks kind of like Atari 2600 graphics or whatever. Okay. So a graphic of a human being and the human population of Earth. So we list how many people are on Earth, which at this point is absolutely incorrect. A graphic of our solar system indicating which of the planets the message is coming from. So it's like they're lined up showing 9 planets at the time because Pluto was still a planet when we sent it. And then it shows like Earth, the third planet, is like represented in a different way than the rest of them. A graphic of the Arecibo radio telescope and the dimensions, like the physical diameter of the transmitting antenna dish. Like, this is how we sent the message. And of course, Frank Drake decided that he would also include a photo of his penis. So
wouldn't that be nuts? Get it?
Wow. I think it'd be more penisy than nutsy. JK, that last one, obviously I'm kidding about.
Do you send your nuts with your...
I've never sent a ball pic, no. So
you're saying you've sent a dick pic, though. Cool.
I'm not confirming or denying that, but I can deny nut pics. Once we had the message ready to go, we needed to have a destination, and we chose a section of sky named M13. And this section of sky is a relatively close collection of stars to Earth, but most importantly, it would be lined up. This is really why they picked it, I feel like. They're going to do a ceremony. Hey, we're going to shoot this message into space. They picked a day, they picked a time, and then when they did that, they realized, based off how we shoot something into space, what is the dish going to be pointing at then? And they're like, all right, well, I guess we pick this day and this time. This relatively close collection of stars would work. And so November 16th, 1974, off it went. And then we didn't hear back. And here's the thing about us not hearing back, though. Sure, we sent this message via radio waves, and sure, those radio waves are traveling approximately the speed of light. M13 as a location is 25,000 light years away, which means it's not going to be received until the year 26974 on our calendars.
What?
So it's like we sent this message where it's not even going to be received until feasibly we could all be fucking gone. Like, not just we, the people who sent it, obviously we're going to be dead by then, but like human beings in general might not exist in 25,000 years, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess it's just a wait and see, kind of foolish. And, I guess there was a crop circle that appeared in the UK, I think it was 2001, that looked just like the message we had sent, like that infographic.
Really?
And it was written in binary. It was super huge. A bunch of people wound up getting caught as being the people who were the ones who did it. They created a crop circle in that exact spot the year previously, and they referenced it in their little infographic. I will also post that so you can see what it looks like. But aside from that, there has been no response to this particular message. Well, we have been waiting to see if we do receive a message in general, not just from this particular message. So imagine that scene at the beginning of Independence Day, where people are listening for a signal and then they hear a signal. People do that. And it's referenced in a lot of alien movies. It's called SETI, S-E-T-I, which stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. What's up?
I've just never seen it, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
I can't imagine
that.
the beginning of Independence Day because I've never seen it.
So folks have been doing this search for intelligent life for around 70-ish years or so. They have been connected and collaborative, and they've had international efforts to do this since the 1980s, okay? That said, it didn't not exist prior to the 1980s. It just wasn't as connected of an effort. And I believe the reason it became such a united front in the 80s is because of something that happened in the late 70s. This happened at the Ohio State University. Ohio State had a radio telescope nicknamed Big Ear that was constantly monitoring the sky for incoming radio signals. And this is when we're going to start getting into the wow signal stuff. It's not just that we shoot shit into space, it's that we also sometimes get something back.
Do we shoot literal shit into space?
We do. The space debris around our planet's fucking atrocious.
Really?
It's a monument to human waste because there's so much fucking satellite and space debris surrounding our planet. That's a completely different topic, though. So no one quite knows what a signal from another civilization would look like or sound like, or exactly how it would arrive. So imagine a catcher in baseball. You got your pitcher on the mound, throwing the ball, catcher catches it in his glove. Imagine if you had no idea who was going to throw it, how hard they're going to throw it, and where it would arrive. The goal here would be to just make a giant glove that could be monitored by multiple people so you could see where the glove was struck and then theorize where it might have come from before deciphering what was received. It's not like receiving signals from space is something that hadn't been thought about. This has been theorized for a long time, going back to 1959, when this is the Cornell folks. 2 physicists from Cornell, they wrote a paper regarding this. Mm-hmm. If we were to receive a message from an extraterrestrial civilization and they were trying to communicate any sort of message to humanity, they almost certainly would do so via radio waves, and they would almost certainly use the frequency of 1,420 megahertz, so 1420 megahertz. Aside from having the number 420 in it, which is clearly awesome because it lets us know that aliens aren't narcs and that they like to party, the frequency of 1420 makes sense because that frequency is naturally emitted by hydrogen, by the element hydrogen. So it's something that can be measured.
All right.
Because of that, 1420 would be the most logical choice, because if any civilization basically wants to send a message to another civilization that could receive it, it is assumed that if they have technology to receive it, they know how to monitor this frequency because hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. So it's like they took the most common thing that you could find. So even if you've only discovered a few frequencies, this should be one of them, basically.
Okay.
And they said if anyone was going to try and reach out, and if we send any messages, it should probably be over this frequency. And then on August 15th, 1977, something happened. So 3 years after we shot our message into space, something came back. An astronomer named Jerry R. Ehman, E-H-M-A-N, was reviewing the data received. And he was actually reviewing it a few days after the date in particular was being reviewed. So he was reviewing this on August 18th. He was reviewing the data for August 15th.
Okay.
At approximately 10:16 p.m. local time on August 15th, the Big Ear picked up a signal that lasted for 72 seconds. It steadily increased over that time period and then fell sharply in intensity after it peaked. So it rose for around 45 to 50 seconds. And then for the remainder of the time, around 32 seconds, it fell sharply. It did peak within, for a duration of 1 to 2 seconds, it seems like, maybe a little bit longer. But when you look at something like this, you probably think well, how do you know where it came from? How do you know that this is actually a signal from somewhere else and not just background noise? So there's a ton of technical mumbo jumbo I could repeat and probably understand a part of, and then you might understand a part of it. But let me explain it this way, because this is the best way I can describe it to you, is that for the data they're actually receiving and they're actually monitoring, it's not like a radio wave like you would imagine.
Okay.
It's alphanumeric numbers. So every 12 seconds, this data sheet basically prints out a number and lets you know what the signal is that they're receiving. So a 0 or a blank spot means it's all normal. And if you get a 1, it tells you that that's the standard deviation. So if you're looking at an actual radio signal, you expect to see a wave. And like there's the middle of the wave, which is a straight line. The straight line is a 0. And then the typical fluctuation you see away from that line is considered a 1.
Okay.
So it's like background noise, like the cars passing in the background would be considered R1.
Really?
So if a 2 pops up, that means that the wave is double in intensity. So you have double the standard deviation away from your baseline.
Okay.
So a 2 is almost significant. You look at that and be like, something's happening here. It might be interference. It needs to be something that's checked on. So if you're looking at something like a 2 and thinking that's interesting, you're probably wondering what this signal looked like. So while examining the sample, Eamon saw something that was a bit different than he had ever seen before. So numbers range from 1 to 9. And because the number 10 would be double digits, it's difficult to read. That's why it's alphanumerical. So at 10, it turns to A.
Okay.
And then B is 11, so on and so forth. So the sheet from this particular time shows nothing, and then it registers a signal of 6, which is huge, which needs to be looked into. 12 seconds passes, and then the next number comes out, and it's not a number. It's the letter E. And then another 12 seconds passes, it's the letter Q. And then another 12 seconds passes, and it's the letter U. So at this point, 48 seconds into this signal being received, it has peaked at roughly 31 times the standard deviation. So imagine listening to background noise just on like earphones, and then taking your volume up 31 times that. And all you would hear is like, it's essentially kind of how you listen to like dead audio to hear for EVPs, You're just jacking the fucking volume as high as it'll go to listen if you can hear someone telling you like sick tattoos, bro, or whatever it is that Ghost Adventures do.
Okay.
But it's like 31 times the standard deviation is what's coming in. Another 12 seconds go by and it drops to J. Another 12 seconds go by, it drops to 5, which is still substantial. And then with the next 12 seconds, it's back to normal. So it's this massive peak out of nowhere that's never been seen before or again, spoiler alert, that lasts for 72 seconds in total. The Big Ear had picked this up from the constellation Sagittarius.
I'm such a Sagittarius.
No one knew what the fuck it was or where exactly it had come from. One thing that was noted about this particular transmission is that it was received on the frequency 1,420 megahertz. So the exact frequency everyone theorized this would be the frequency that interstellar communication would go through. That is the frequency it was received on. There's a little controversy regarding whether or not it came in on 1420.3556 or 1420.4556 or 1420.5056 because there's some calibration issues where they knew they needed to like subtract a bit. And when they wrote the initial report, everyone was so excited. They were like, did you subtract the normal amount or not? Either way, it's on 1420. So it's pretty shocking that this comes in on the almost identical natural frequency from hydrogen that everyone was like, this would make the most sense. If they're intelligent life, this is what they would send it on. So Eamon was so shocked at the finding that he circled it and then drew a line to the side and wrote, wow, exclamation point. That's why it's called the wow That's signal. Why it's called the wow signal. What's crazy about this signal is it absolutely brought the attention of the entire scientific community and just like enthusiasts that tried to explain what the hell it was. Most of them focused on, is this fake? How can we discredit the signal? How can we say that this couldn't happen? Because it makes no sense unless it is literally some form of signal that was shot to us by another civilization, which seems to be something that everyone wants to make sure they cross their I's and they dot their T's before someone says, like, we think we made contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. Also, we need to figure out where it came from to know how long ago they had sent it. And then we would go into the trouble of trying to figure out what the hell they said. What they really looked into is whether or not it was real. And the craziest thing about all the attention it got is that we can't explain what it was, but it also cannot be discredited.
I mean, there's no way to tell, right? Because it's just waves.
It's waves, but there's a bunch of theories as to what it could have been that people keep saying, like, it was this instead, or is this instead. And then once research is done, they're like, it couldn't have been that. And those people come forth and they're like, yeah, my hypothesis doesn't fit. We still don't know what it is. Despite this taking place 44 years ago, there's absolutely no consensus at all on this, including any way to discredit it. Some of the explanations are as follows. One thing that people were very curious about is that a different, larger, and most importantly, more sensitive radio telescope array did not detect the WOW signal. That was at a different location on the planet. Mm-hmm. And that array is known as the Very Large Array, or the VLA. And it did not detect it. So it's odd that a message could show up that was below the detection threshold for the more sensitive one, but still be picked up by the big ear. So when they're talking about, like, how could this have happened, they have two distinct theories as to what it could have caused it to happen. One is that it was a sweeping frequency. And if you want to picture what that's like, picture a lighthouse and the beam of light coming off of it.
Okay.
It's not always going to be trailing behind, but it will illuminate a certain part of the area in front of it. And the other one is that it was a direct one-time burst, and it was only there for 72 seconds and did not exist afterwards.
What's scarier?
People, it's the one-time burst for sure, because it seems like it was shot at them specifically, in a location where it could have been received, or they were hoping someone could receive it. And when we sent our message in 74, it was like, we're going to send it to a constellation, This seems like it was sent to our planet versus like sending it to a solar system style
shit. That's terrifying.
Yeah. So the other thing that I found very interesting about this is that it's still completely unknown what it could have been. Like, Eamon himself was skeptical based off the strength of the signal, because it's like, it just doesn't seem like this is possible unless it was literally an extraterrestrial civilization reaching out to us.
Yeah.
So he stated that he believed, based off of that it must have been, quote, an Earth source signal that simply got reflected off a piece of space debris and came back, because it just was blowing his fucking mind. So they decided to look into that. After that was studied further, especially once the requirements that would be needed for a piece of space debris to reflect it, Eamon came back and said basically like, never mind, it can't be that. It wasn't from here. They were like, what would it take to have a piece of space debris reflect a signal back to Earth at this strength?
It has to be a giant piece.
And when they realized, they're like, it would have to be man-made, or it would have to be extraterrestrial made specifically for bouncing back signals. And most importantly, when it comes to this theory, it would have had to have been broadcast from Earth, and it would have had to have been broadcast on the 1420 frequency. The interesting thing about the 1420 frequency is it's so known to the scientific community that it is a protected spectrum, because astronomical instruments and equipment use it. You are not allowed, you are absolutely forbidden to transmit from, quote, terrestrial transmitters on this frequency.
Wow.
It is illegal for you to use this frequency, so people just don't do it. One of the things that has held back this absolutely crazy occurrence from gathering more legitimacy is that signal detections usually require a second detection to be confirmed. And because this was a single occurrence, it has not been confirmed.
That's sad.
The other thing is that, and this is another thing Eamon said that made him skeptical, is that they checked and checked and checked. When this happened, everyone kept checking the same location. They couldn't find the signal. And he basically said, like, we should be able to find it every time we look for it, unless it's this one-time burst. And they've never been able to find it again, regardless of the identical nature of how they set everything up to look for it. It's never been detected again. So it certainly seems like a walkie-talkie message, like, hey, you up? And then it's just not there anymore. It's not like it's constantly broadcasting over and over and over. It was just one time. They've never been able to find it again. In 2017, there was a hypothesis from a teacher in Florida that it had originated from two comets that were in the area at the time. Once they looked into it and checked sky maps or whatever they do to see where stuff was at the time, and this actually included folks that were on the original team at Big Ear when it happened, they determined that the comets were absolutely not in the area they would have had to be for it to have originated from them. It wasn't even an explanation of what it was or why it was sent. It was trying to be an explanation of the origin. Like, it could have come from these two comets. They came back and said, no, that's not the case. Despite all this, and despite having no explanation that holds any water, or theory that discredits it that holds any water, this was kind of left alone. People looked into it. They realized, like, we have no idea what happened. We know something was received. It doesn't appear to be fake. It doesn't appear to be terrestrial based. It came from this particular location. We can't detect it again. That was it. Like, they looked into it. They said, like, yeah, we're not sure. And people kind of moved on and chalked it up to, like, yeah, that happened, and we don't know what the hell it was. And after that, the skies went quiet again.
Did anything else happen after that?
Well, I'll read a few more things here.
Okay.
So
I'm just like, I'm curious. I'm like, is the truth out there?
This happened. Okay, we sent ours in 74. The WoW signal happens in 77. And then we didn't get anything for almost 3 decades.
What?
As far as getting something back. We didn't send anything for another 25 years after 1974. When it was the 25th year, we're like, maybe we should, I don't know, do that again and pick a closer location than last time.
All right.
So this still is, the WoW signal is still very popular. People know about it. People talk about it, even though it happened so long ago. In 2012, there was this campaign by, I can't remember what company it was, but they sent a bunch of tweets with the hashtag, like the truth is out there or some stupid shit like that, back at where we had gotten this, because they thought it was weird that we never sent a response. And they sent a bunch of tweets from like celebrities and shit, obviously representing the best of our culture and not thinking through, what would actually, be beneficial to send. And it just made me read through this and be like, I fucking hate humans. I can't believe that this is what we chose to do as a response, and we did it like 40 years later. But the next message that we would actually send to the stars didn't go out until May 24th, 1999, when it came to an official message being sent. That message was sent to 4 different locations. So when 1999 hit and people said, like, it's been 25 years since we did the Arecibo message, why haven't we done that again? They said we should. They came up with a different message. They picked 4 locations to send it to at once, and then we sent it. And then in 2001, we did another one. New message, 6 locations. 2003, new message, 5 locations. So we've started to pick up on reaching out, basically.
All right. 2
more messages went outbound in 2008 to 2 different locations. Only 1 was sent in 2009, and then 1 was sent in 2016. This one's very interesting to me. The most recent message that was sent in 2017 over the course of 3 days. So not just a one-time burst. We sent a continuous broadcast for 3 straight days so it could be received for 72 hours if someone wanted to check it.
All right.
We then sent that same message using that same technique in 2018. What is interesting is we learned our lesson from 1974 because those messages will be getting to their destination a lot sooner. Not 26,009, whatever.
Really?
The message sent in 2008, which is entitled A Message from Earth, will reach its destination in 2029, in 8 years from now. A 2009 message that went out was going to be received in 2030, and the 2017 and 2018 messages that we sent for 72 hours, those will also be received at their destination in March of 2030. So those messages are different, but they all carry the same sentiment, the same purpose, a universal message that humanity can stand behind. We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Up.
I sincerely hope it's not that, because I'm fairly certain if that message were received and translated properly, it would start an intergalactic war. Like, we finally found the telemarketing planet. We need to turn it to ash.
Telemarketing planet?
I guess with this, unless some shocking discovery comes out on 44-year-old data, since we have not been able to find the WoW signal again, we're just going to leave this one as unsolved as a, civilization, which is kind of bizarre. Or just chalk it up as unexplained space phenomena. And I think it absolutely deserves way more research than it had. And I wish more people would look into it to figure out exactly what it was, like deciphering maybe what the signal actually was. Because if this is how we receive something, how do we know that someone else doesn't just have a signal out there that says, yeah, we got something. We think it came from that constellation over there. And everyone's like, yeah, what the fuck ever. It doesn't matter. So since we're unlikely to get any sort of additional research, I guess we should all just get excited for 2029 and 2030 when our message will hopefully get to their new destinations. And hopefully they send something back that doesn't take 15 to 20 years to get to us, because that's, a pretty long time from now. I don't have to wait till 2050 for something to get back. I'll be fucking old. I'll be 65. I'll be 65 in 2050. So, I mean, for me right now, it's almost double my age. So I'm just like, I don't want to wait that long just for someone to be like, yeah, I'm up. What's up?
Yeah.
So,
you up?
It's a very bizarre occurrence that happened. It absolutely is real. It's been the inspiration for countless science fiction stories. It gets included in so many movies when we talk about reaching out to aliens or being contacted from aliens. And I think it was hilarious that when I brought it up, you're like, wait, are you serious right now? And we've received, I think, 3 more messages that have been marked as something that could have possibly been a broadcast or transmitted from a different civilization since 2004, I think.
But we can't translate it.
And that's, again, that's why you use sort of math as this universal language. Because rather than trying to speak someone's dialect from a different planet, math should be universal. Like 1 + 1 should equal 2 no matter where you're at, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's why when we sent the original message, we sent it in binary because it is literally just a 1 or a 0. So it should be able to be deciphered fairly easily. And the way they sent it, like the structure of it, should show that it's like, here's the first message, here's the second message, all the way until you get to Frank What's-His-Face's penis. So okay. It's unclear whether or not we're ever going to find out what that was, or whether or not if there is another civilization out there, they can figure out what we said. But I thought it was interesting enough to explain so we know, just in case something does happen, like I know what the WoW signal is, and it's cool that the aliens have finally landed. So we'll see what happens in the future. But that, my spooky friends, is the WoW signal.
Thanks. I had no idea that there was a signal like that was received already. What if it's another entity or species or whatever out there in space that is sending out messages themselves just like we are?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just weird.
What if it was space kaiju and it roared at us?
Space kaiju.
And it like roared in our direction or something like that. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention that I didn't put in my script is that since we started sending out new messages, I think the ones that started in like 2004, 2003, they're not sent just broadly to a constellation. We are targeting planets that would be habitable for life to be sustained.
This doesn't sound like a good idea.
Like when I was going through them, I'm like, oh, they're picking fucking planets where they're like, things could live here. And I'm like, this is now starting to get a little fucking creepy. But again, like we might all be dead before we even hear back. Like it's going to take a long time for like communications to break down.
That's a future human problem.
Yeah, that's future humans that have to deal with that shit. So either way, I think it's absolutely fascinating. So at one point I hope to get like an astronomer that we can have on the show to go over some of this stuff and be like, so have you heard of this? Can you describe it more to us in terms that we might understand from your sciencey brain or something like that? So, but yeah, that is my topic. So
yeah, well, Zetus Lapidus was that entertaining.
I don't know what that is referencing.
From Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century. It's a Disney movie, okay?
Never seen it.
I feel like you're just not a Disney person.
I just don't watch a lot of stuff outside of like the big Hollywood hits, especially now that I'm older. If I've never heard of it, it's like, there's no way I can watch it. So, yeah, take that.
Okay. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody who's gotten this far in the episode. This one's going to be a little longer than usual.
But hey, it's a little bit late, so we gave you some extra content. Enjoy that. So if you folks have a story that you would like to send to us, it doesn't have to be related to house superstitions or extraterrestrial. But if you have one, we'd love to hear it.
If you have some superstitions that you kind of grew up with, that your family was like, no, house has to be like this or whatever.
Hit us up. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. The quickest way that you can hit us up is our social medias. @ScarishPod is our Twitter. @ScarishPodcast is our Instagram. And Facebook.com/ScarishPodcast is our Facebook. We also have a group that runs from our Facebook. So if you want to join that, please feel free to do so. Get some live interaction. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, which I can't believe is old-fashioned, you can email us. Storytime@Scaryish.com.
Remember when emails started becoming a thing?
I remember very distinctly.
You can email? What? Oh,
we also have a P.O. box. If you want to snail mail it to us and really go to Blast from the Past, you can find that on our Contact Us page as well on our website, which is Scaryish.com. And if you go to that Contact Us page, it has all the different ways you can reach out to us, including filling out a form if you don't want to mail something, you don't want to email something from your account. You can just fill out that form, send it directly to us. And we would love to hear from you. So, Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/ScarishPodcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $8 due. At $1, you get ad-free, which is always great. And access to, like, an exclusive Storytime little tidbitty. And if you're not into the monthly donation type thing, you can go to ko-fi.com/Scaryish podcast. Those are one-time donations. All your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup and kind of keep us going and allow us to just keep doing this.
Indeed. So we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for listening. And Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.